Okay, we're going to do another print. This print I've had a look earlier on. It's a Portuguese print, and I think it is a Portuguese print, not an Italian version of a Portuguese print. And I'm not an expert on Portuguese history at all, but I know that they are allies with England, and it's the oldest treaty in the world is between England and Portugal, and it still is in power. So we have this lovely print. It's a bit faded, but it's a distinctive style. And fundamentally, you've got an American individual here, Brazilian, because Portugal owned much of South America because of the treaty done in the mid-1400s between Portugal and Spain under the supervision of the Pope. So South America was partitioned and divided between Portugal and Spain, so they wouldn't waste any time fighting each other. They would just be able to take over South America and bring all the gold back to Iberia. That's my English version of it. There's a lot more to it, of course there is. And they divided also the East. So what happened in about 1800, what happened to Portugal is the Spanish invaded Portugal, and unfortunately the alliance with Britain didn't really kick in until a little bit later. And as soon as there was trouble in Portugal with the Spanish, who were dominant because the French and the Spanish joined forces, Queen Maria I, Queen Mary of Portugal, had to flee Portugal. Otherwise she would have been either killed or stuck in a cell. And she went to Brazil because it was a colony of Portugal. And she spent a long time on the boat going to Brazil against her will. She was taken to protect her with the Braganza family, Braganza, B-R-A-G-A-Z-A. And this picture is about the arrival of Queen Mary of Portugal in Brazil in, roughly speaking, 1800. 1807, sorry. And the text on Wikipedia says that this queen cried and screamed all the way from Portugal to Brazil because she was upset. And as I mentioned, Brazil and Portugal and England were allies fighting against Spain and France. Spain was the dominant force. So Duke of Wellington left England to try and fight back, and he started fighting in the north-west corner of Spain. And if you go to a town of San Sebastian, otherwise known as Donostia in Basque, there is an English graveyard. So if I go to Donostia, there are signs everywhere saying English cemetery. It's peculiar. And there are soldiers there who are fighting against Spain for England and for Portugal. Okay, so they went south, and Wellington got to Portugal, and he was chased into Portugal by the Spanish, and he had to retreat because the Spanish and the French together were quite potent. But he kept withdrawing down the peninsula of Lisbon, which is a sort of a wedge shape, shaped by the River Tagus. And because it's a wedge shape, the further he retreated down this sort of spit of land, huge, every time he withdrew, his front line shrank and could therefore double. So he kept retreating, and his line became stronger as he retreated. And he would poison all the water sources and wells. He put dead animals in the wells. He would take the food, take the crops, take the apples, and drive the livestock to Lisbon. This is all simplified. Okay, he would pay the farmers when he took their animals. He would pay the peasants if he took their food, and obviously they would be given the opportunity to escape as well. That's the story. And because the line was moving further and further away from France and Spain, in the end the invading Spanish and French became weakened and actually got diseased and lost, because he was able to resupply because of the sea with a link with England. And then there was the Battle of Trafalgar and all the other things which nails Spain. And after the war, the Portuguese gave Wellesley a palace in Portugal and some land. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of square miles as a thank you. And the family of Wellesley still own a good chunk of Portugal, and they were given titles and stuff like that. So it's a lovely story for me. And this print is about the Queen had to leave just before, unfortunately, Portugal was saved. And this has a key. There are numbers on the picture, and they have corresponding descriptions. It's quite an informative print. They're not always like that. It's called La saggia determinazione del re de Portogallo. That means the wise choice of the Queen of Portugal, meaning she was wise to get out of Portugal and go to Brazil. This is I'm going to say an Indian American Amazonian, you could say. It's Brazilian, and you have the interesting headdress, and you have the canoe. This person here is showing regret and sorrow. So it's an interesting thing. I don't know a lot about, as I say, I don't know a lot about this Portugal situation, but I've given you a basic story. I think it's a very interesting print. Okay, thanks.